The slide rule is embodied by the two sets of scales that are joined together with a marginal space between them. That is for movement. Very famous name in the field of computer science, that is Charles Babbage, and we call him as the father of modern computer. Lady Ada Lovelace. She started writing the first computer algorithm. Dear students, welcome to computer science classes. I am Ravi Kumar Kyar, lecturer in computer science, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. Students, let us start our discussion with the concept evolution of computers. So this is evolution of computers, or other words, a history of computers. So here you know what the meaning of evolution of computers, and we are familiar with the word evolution of human being, evolution of man. So in the evolution, in the history, another way, history of computers, we are going to study what made them to develop a computer and what was the shape of the first machine started for counting, and what is today's computer. Today's computer is not the first computer, and it took so many decades, so many years to complete, to came into this present day computers. So this is nothing but evolution of computers, or evolution of or history of computers. So under history of computers, we are going to study different devices used for calculation during from the beginning till today's computer. So this is under this, first one is abacus. This abacus, you might be familiar with the word or the device abacus, as you can see in the diagram or in the picture. So this abacus, it was the first calculating machine used for counting in the world. So this is the first counting devices they have developed for counting purpose. And you know, if you see the diagram, this is the latest as advanced version of abacus. And actually abacus at the during those days, when you talk about the year 2500 BC, it was not in the shape. So this, as usually, this abacus made up of beads. These are the beads and on cards, and is used for simple arithmetic calculation. And abacus was mainly used for addition and subtraction, later for division and multiplication. Now if you look at the diagram here, it will be having a frame, this is called wooden frame. Inside that we have a bars. These are the different units here, unit point, and these are upper beads and lower beads, and these are the center rod to hold the beads. See, this is a setup of present day abacus, and actually abacus was the first counting device developed for counting, and at the beginning they were using it for addition and subtraction, and later nowadays they have started using abacus for division as well as multiplication operation. So this is the abacus, the first counting machine developed for calculation or counting. Now let us move on to next slide. And here, next one is the Napier's bone. So what is Napier's bones? And it was invented by a John Napier, as a Scottish mathematician. And he developed this, and it is called bones. See, what is the meaning of the bones? And if you look at this diagram here, it had a setup like this, and these are all different rods. These are made up of bones of humans or animal bones. That is why it is called as Napier's bones. And this is called bones. And if you look at this, we have different rods for digits from 1 to 9, and we have one constant rod for digit 0. And this was the setup. Actually, it is a combination of number of rods, and the number of rods that start from 1 through 9, and we had a constant rod 1 for digit 0. See, this was a setup. If you look at this diagram here, and this is one rod. If you observe one rod here, each rod is divided into number of squares, and again each box is divided into again two subdivisions, and inside that, if you look at that, they used to mark with numbers from 0 to 9. This was the setup of Napier's bone, and they were using it for multiplication as well as division purpose. This is a Napier's bone and invented by John Napier, and it is made up of a bones or a set of rods, and these rods were made up of animal bones or human bones, and each rod used to mark with number of divisions as well as subdivisions, and each subdivisions are marked with 0 to 9 numbers or digits, and they were using it mainly for multiplication. Now let us move on to next slide. The slide rule. This is the slide rule. It is one of the invention, and it was invented by William Orchard, and it is based on principle that the actual distance from the starting point of the rule is directly proportional to the logarithm of the numbers printed on the rule. So this device they used to work with the principle of logarithm. Now if you look at this diagram here, and this is the setup, it will be like this, and there are two different slides, or we can say rulers or rules, and all these scales or rulers were marked with numbers, and these they used to set up with one keeping one over the another, and there will be a slight gap in between for movement of these two slides or these two rulers, and in between there will be a small opening here, a small window to read the result of any calculation. So this is a slide rule, and the slide rule is embodied by the two sets of scales that are joined together with a marginal space between them, that is for movement, and the suitable alliance of two scales enable the slide rule to perform multiplication and division by method of addition and subtraction. As it is based on the logarithms, these logarithms in calculations are done with the logarithms by addition and subtraction operation. So based on this concept, they were using slide rule for the purpose of calculation. This is slide rule. Next device is a Pascaline, or adding machine is called Pascaline, and this is the first mechanical device developed it for calculation. Now if you look into the diagram here, this is the setup of a Pascaline, or it was invented by Blaise Pascal, and it is the first mechanical device or calculator. It was named Pascaline. The name of the device is Pascaline, and it had a box within 8 movable wheels called dials. If you look into the setup here, see this is a box, this is a wooden box. Inside that we are having these dials, or these are the wheels, and it is called as a mechanical device because it had the mechanical parts like dials, springs, and gear systems, or a separate rod for calculation, and so many mechanical devices they were using it to build this device. That's why it is called as the first mechanical device for calculation. Then the numbers of calculations were entered with the dials, and actually if you look at these dials were divided into 9 divisions starting from 0 to 9, and here each dial or each wheel is divided into 9 divisions starting from 0 to 9, and it will be having a separate handle here to run or to turn the dials. So with the help of the dials, they used to set up numbers for calculation, and with the help of that they were using it for multiplication as well as division, and it could add, subtract, division and multiply numbers as big as 1000, and it was using simple components such as gears, levers and other things. That is why it is called as a mechanical device. So this is Pascaline, a first mechanical device for counting. Now let us move on to next slide. Next one is Leibniz calculator, and it is one of the device. So mathematician by Gottfried Leibniz built a calculator, and it could add, subtract, multiply and divide the numbers, and it is one of the mechanical device, or it says electromechanical device. They were using it for addition, subtraction, multiplication and for division operations. Next device is Jackw Loom. Another device in the field of computer science and the history of computer science is Jackw Loom. So here, Joseph Mary Jacquard, he invented a powered loom that used to punch wooden cords to automatically weave incredibly detailed pattern, including pictures and text. This can be taken as a first read-only memory device. Now, student, you might have heard the word looming. What is a loom? You might have familiar with hand loom. Actually, nowadays we are hand loom or the one they were using it for to design different types of cloth, materials, or sarees, and so on. That is hand loom. So this is a powered loom. What is the meaning of powered loom? It is operated by electric power. And this is a power. If you see the hand loom devices or instruments, it will be having so many hooks and so many different colored threads are connected to the device, and they were using it manually to weave a different types of cloths or materials. Similarly, this setup, this is the Jackw Loom. It also had a similar setup like hand loom, and it's called a powered loom. And this inside this, they were using a punched cord, wooden cords, or say punched cord for designing or weaving or to get different designs in the form of pictures as well as text. So this punched cord, a very good invention in the field of computer science. So this is where they use to store the result or different pattern on the wooden cords. It is called punched wooden cords. It is one of the invention, very good invention in the field of computer science for storing information. So this is a Jackw Loom invented by Joseph Mary Jacquard for the purpose of calculation, and in the place of calculation they were storing it information in the form of pictures as well as text. This is Jackw Loom. Now let us move on to next slide. So here next one is the difference engine. The difference engine, it was developed by Charles Babbage. Charles Babbage, a British mathematician and is an engineer. He designed automatic calculating machine called as a difference engine. And this Charles Babbage, he is a British mathematician. Now, very famous name in the field of computer science, that is Charles Babbage, and we call him as the father of modern computer. He was the one to develop a device, this difference engine. It is automatic calculating machine. Now, next device is analytical engine. Analytical engine, and this one also was developed by a Charles Babbage, as I told you just now, a very famous name in the field of computer science. Actually, analytical engine that Charles Babbage, he could not build the system because as he could not complete the work or the project, as he could not get the resources for this particular device or any material for the particular devices. So actually he wanted to build a system. It is known as mechanical digital computer. It was a mechanical digital computer. So the meaning is, so he wanted to develop a device or a system so that there should be a separate division for different operations. As we have seen in the introduction of computers, as we said, computer has three parts. One is input device, one is output device, as well as CPU, that is for different operations, and separate unit for memory, separate unit for calculation, and control unit. Similarly, so he wanted to build a system with different units for different operation. So accordingly, but due to as during those time, as he could not build the system, but the present day computer works based on his principle. That is the reason we call him as the father of modern computer. So, present day computer, as we have seen in the introduction of computers, it has three parts: input unit, output unit, and CPU. So he wanted to build a system similar to that. That is why we now present day computer works based on his principle. We call him as the father of modern computer. Next, we want to next slide. So next comes the first programmer. So here, Lady Ada Lovelace, she started writing the first computer algorithm, and she predicted that the later computers will have the ability to more than mathematical calculation. And she was a lady, the first programmer. She is Lady Ada Lovelace, as she was working with Charles Babbage. I mean, in his difference engine as well as analytical engine, and she started writing instructions for automatic calculation, for automatic computation. That is why we call her as, or she has been referred as, the first programmer. In this session, we have studied or discussed about evolution of computers, and what you have seen devices, only few devices we have referred here, but actually from those days till the final shape of the computer, present day computer, there were many devices were invented by many mathematicians, scientists, engineers, but only few of them have noticed here, and only we have studied few invention under history of computers. Students, in the next session we are going to discuss about the generation of computer system. Thank you very much.